Hi everybody, we're looking at hill start faults that happen on the driving test, and I'm hoping that by explaining the sort of things that crop up you can avoid it, and it'll help you pass your driving test. And also after you pass your driving test, when you're in your first car, it'll help you to drive safely. So we're going to cover some areas that mainly crop up on the driving test that will cause you to get a fault, possibly a serious, possibly a dangerous, and one other one I'm going to put at the end of this bit here, which people don't really talk about, which will give you a dangerous every time. So the main one that people tend to associate hill starts and getting faults for is the side of a road. The examiner's going to ask you to pull off, and it's a hill start. Some people don't recognise they're on a hill at that point, and they just get enough gas and biting point to pull off on a flat. They release the handbrake and they start to either don't do anything, just sat there, so then they panic and lift the clutch off and stall, or they haven't got enough biting point because they're on a hill, so they start rolling backwards. And they adjust the clutch quite quickly to sort it out. Now, if you roll backwards probably about, I'm talking about 4 or 5 centimetres, and there's nothing around, then you're probably going to get a driving fault. But if you keep rolling backwards and you're going towards like half a foot, then you're going to get a serious at that point, because at that point you've lost control of the car and you're trying to recover it. Now, I always say to people, if you're not very good at hill starts, handbrake, first gear, more power than normal. So you're talking about 2.5 to 2,000 revs on the rev counter, and feel that pull on the biting point. And when you're ready to go, have a look round. Make sure it's safe to pull off before you release the handbrake. Make sure you check your blind spot, things like that. So I say to anyone, if you're pulling off a side of the road, make sure you do them things, and you'll be fine. Okay. Now, if you're pulling off at a junction, or it'll be a junction end of a road, or a junction at a roundabout, you've got to remember what's behind you at that point. How close are they? Don't try and be dead clever by coming off the brake, gas, the biting point and flying off if there's a car right out the back of you, because if you don't get that biting point spot on in that first second and you start to roll, don't be surprised if that examiner goes for the brake. All right, and that's probably going to get serious at that point, because that car behind is quite close, and there's no point in saying to your instructor afterwards, well, that car behind was way up my backside kind of thing, he was too close, and I panicked and rushed and rolled. Well, get your handbrake on. That's what you've got to say, though. Get your handbrake on, get more power, get your biting point, check that it's safe to pull off. If it's a junction, right, left, right. If it's a roundabout, check to your right, make sure it's safe. Make sure it's safe when you're going to enter. Okay? So that when you do release the handbrake, it moves off, it doesn't roll backwards. So if there's someone close behind you, handbrake on, every time. Another one, and this is also crops up quite a lot, is if you're in an area that's quite busy traffic, and you just say, I'm going to use Halifax, West Yorkshire as a good example, because I used to live there, and I've got a good instructor called Darryl who teaches in that area, and there's hills everywhere, and it's quite busy. So there's a good chance you're going to be in slow moving traffic going up an hill, stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. So if you haven't got hill assist on your car, which most cars don't, and you're used to going off the brake gas biting point, then you're probably going to roll back at some point. So you've got to say to yourself, I'm going to use my handbrake more, and I need to be aware of what's in my rear view mirror when I'm stopping. Okay, so when I'm stopping, handbrake on, make sure I'm in first, get my gas, get my biting point. Remember, more gas, more biting point. Same idea, isn't it? So it's a repeat of what you do when you pull off the side of the road, except for you're repeating it every 4 or 5 or 10 seconds because you're in slow traffic. So I would say to people, don't, when the car ahead of you pulls off and they move forward half a foot, don't move forward half a foot, stay where you are. Why move forward half a foot? It's not going to make a big difference. Let them move off again, and then do that movement in one movement rather than 2 movements. So get your gas on, get your biting point, make sure it's actually safe behind you. If it's really close, make sure that biting point is spot on. Lift that, feel a pull. All right. So common one, like I say, people don't look at what's behind them. So check your rear view mirror, and in slow moving traffic, just make sure you're actually moving off slowly. You're not rushing off, because you're going to rush off into the car in front of you. Okay. So if you roll backwards into the car close behind you, you're going to get a serious. And if you don't recover, and the examiner's got to put the foot on the brake. It's a dangerous, isn't it, on the test? This other one, and this can crop up anywhere, and people don't really think about this one, is pedestrians around you. So whether it be at the side of a road, so if you parked up on the side of a road on a hill, or a junction, or a roundabout, or slow moving traffic, if there's a path next to you and it's busy and you're about to move off, just be aware of anyone walking behind you. If a pedestrian is about to cross and they start walking behind the car, do not release your handbrake to go, because that pedestrian is going to come really close to your car. You'd be surprised. You'll hear your rear sensors, if you've got rear sensors, bleep, 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 bleeping away they are, aren't you? Saying someone behind the car kind of thing, and reminding you. Or just check your rear view mirror, check your side mirrors, see what's going on. And if you're in slow traffic, have a look across to your right and left, see what's happening next to you. Okay, so if pedestrians walk behind the car, hold yourself still, let them get past the car before you proceed to go forward. Because if you roll backwards, even a little bit, examiner's going to hit the brake because you're too close to them. Okay, and this carries on after you pass your driving test and you get your first car, because the amount of people who I speak to, whether they email me or put comments, who say to me, I've got my first car and I can't drive, I'm stalling, hill starts, I've lost my confidence, they'll say. And it's like going back to square one. You've got to remember, get your handbrake on, get yourself into first gear, get your gas on, get your biting point, make sure it's safe to pull off by checking things. If this has helped you, fantastic. Safe driving. And remember, these seriousness and dangers can be avoided if you just play the safe game. Take care. Good luck on the driving test. Good luck in your first car, everybody.